Now I can see all of you, and also into the Zendo. So I'm just, thank you, Echo, and I'm very grateful for all of you here in all of your Zoom boxes and in the Zendo. I just feel so much support from all of you as I give a talk. So thank you. So I am speaking from South Burlington, Vermont. It is absolutely pitch black outside now, and I can hear the rain, right, kind of pounding on gutters and the deck outside, and I'm very grateful for that as we have a drought situation here, and so every bit of rain is helpful. So this season that we're in right now is one of profound change. Right, sort of obvious, as we take walks outside. I took a walk out into the woods a day ago. It's one of my favorite seasons. It was, even though the leaves are almost all down, they're faded, they're dulled, they're in the trees, they're on the ground. It looks, they're in the sky, and so taking a walk, there's this incredible feeling of just being in the middle of a magic land. It's very beautiful. And then the other thing is one can see into the layers of the deep forest, which is quite incredible to see, have a view that we don't normally have. And we're also in a season of profound radical change, right, in our country and in our world. And I think just as I was seeing into the layers of the forest, I think we're seeing into the deep layers of greed, anger, and ignorance in a way that I always there before, but now, wow, it's just bottomless. And every day, shocking news. Could it get any worse? And each day somehow it seems to. I really enjoyed Soto Spring's talk last Sunday. She was our guest speaker, and she talked about her new book called Polycrisis. And she said that polycrisis means lots of things are going bad and getting worse. She said that she finished her book before Trump was inaugurated in office this past time. And she posed a question that is also a question that I have thought a lot about. So grounded, right, in the real world. What do we do? How do we respond to the situation we're in now at this time in our lives and history? How could it get worse? How are we going to maintain our level-headedness at such a time? How are we going to move forward, proceed at such a time, act responsibly, sow seeds of compassion, and do our best? For me, it's what we always do. Maybe we'll step up our Zen practice, our practice, but it really is what we do. And so I think we're doing it this evening sitting together. Zazen, being embodied, being present, grounded, awake, step by step, to do whatever needs to be doing. That might be afterwards, maybe it'll be cooking yourself a meal and doing some dishes, but being grounded, awake, and doing our best to do what is right in front of us in our everyday, ordinary lives. So thinking about this talk, love kept coming up. The word, the emotion, my heart felt full with the phrase, loving myself and others. And I think my challenge over the many years of practice has really been about holding myself gently with care. Of course, holding myself gently is also holding others gently. Doing that for myself is what teaches me, right, how to open up in a larger way to the world and to other people. So learning and opening to being more fully human with all beings in the muck and mud of every day in the marketplace. So loving myself and others, this is doing good. And this is the third of the 3 Pure Precepts. So when I came to the Village Zendo, I came by way of the Buddhist chaplaincy training that was held at the Village Zendo. My internship was at Beth Israel Hospital in New York City. And I remember one of the first instructions we received was about, probably on the first or second day, how to enter a patient's room. Obviously, you walk down the hallway, you come to the patient's room, you stop, you stand still, you take a deep breath. But number 1 instruction, touch the door frame and remember that you are entering sacred space. 2, cross the threshold. What do you see? What do you hear? 360 degrees all around the whole room, around yourself, to give you information, to inform you about the person, family, what's going on, information gathering, inner and outer. Right? There's no separation. What I feel inside me is also very good information. And the memory that came up with that was being in an ICU one day and with somebody who had just had a massive heart attack. And my brain actually felt totally scrambled. And I realized, somehow, I'm kind of tapped into them. And then I didn't step back, but it's information. 3, what is needed? What words, gesture, silence, question, what action? These simple instructions, I didn't really think about it at the time, but I thought about doing this talk, are grounded in the 3 Pure Precepts. Not knowing, thereby giving up fixed ideas about myself and others as I touch the doorframe. 2, bearing witness to the joy and suffering of the world as I look and meet and see what's going on in the room. 3, loving myself and others. This is doing good for others. So I'm a retired hospice chaplain. I volunteer and have assigned patients to visit at both the University of Vermont Medical Center and hospice. So I really love and enjoy meeting, visiting with different people in different circumstances, and I feel so grateful and lucky to be able to do it. So I thought I would tell you a story about a visit I had a couple of days ago. It was actually a patient that had just gone on hospice. He was 101, and he was in a memory care unit. And I'll call him, not his real name, but I'll call him Morgan. And this was like a kind of a closed unit of a assisted living facility. So when I arrived, he went through, got into this special unit. He was not in his room, but I found him in a communal room with the other people and there was an exercise class that was going on. So I waited for the class. I did say hi to everybody, but I waited for the class to end. And then with the help from a staff member who helped him into his walker, he and I went to a quiet room and we sat side by side. Morgan doesn't hear very well, so he put his audio headphones on. And I was given a little mouthpiece that I had to speak into so he could hear me. We sat really close, like face to face, maybe 2 feet from one another, because it seemed really important that he was really able to see me and hear me. And I learned right away that he was somebody who was unable to hold a regular conversation. He doesn't remember much of his life. He smiled a lot, openly and warm-heartedly, and was both serious and lively. I sensed, and can't put words to it, that he had lived a good and full life, with whatever difficulties were there. They're always for all of us. We exchanged a few words, and I immediately had a sense of his being a philosophically oriented person from our minimal exchange. And I asked him, I said, when you were young, like still a boy, were you interested in philosophy, in reading? It was like amazing. He immediately lit up. His body became erect, right? He said yes. And then he was off to the races. The thing that I remembered, was reminded of, was Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, when they were singing together. And even though Tony Bennett had memory loss, he was like every word, every note. This was really like Morgan. And it was incredible. He just tapped into thoughts, paused, kept going. There was like a whole thread. Deep reflection, right, of his life and experience. Wise words really came pouring out. He spoke of time, of routines, things sometimes being too routine, needing change, needing the new and unfamiliar. So at the end of an hour, I asked him if I could come back next week, and would he like it if I brought a journal and that we would write, that I would record his words, and it would start in a way, something, it would be a reporting on, I don't know, a lecture, I don't know what to call it. He just said yes without hesitation, and it seemed familiar ground to him. So at any rate, how did he and I get to this amazing place? I don't know. But I'll tell you, I felt a deep connection with him. I felt love. I felt so happy and energized to have met and talked with him. I felt nourished by our encounter and sensed that he was too. So in chaplaincy training, one of the guidelines we follow is the person you are with is your teacher. Follow their lead. And I have a sense that I have a lot to learn from Morgan. So now I'm going to talk about case 58 in the Book of Serenity. This is like a real switch into this too. Starting off, the Diamond Scriptures Revilement. The definition of revilement: reviling, punishing, and destructive speech, hostile insults, criticism, and abuse. The times we live in are filled with toxic speech. We have to be very careful about how we spend our time and what we read and what we watch and listen to. When I read this word revilement, just in the title, the word jumped out. Traces, memories from my childhood surfaced. Abuse, right, in my own family, criticisms directed at me. Isn't that true for all of us to varying degrees? There's no perfect family. We all have our histories, and we're all conditioned and suffer to varying degrees growing up in our families, communities, schools. I don't think anyone is exempt. And I think that I was drawn to Zen, yearning for a way to end my suffering and to heal. So moving on to and introducing going into the introduction to the case. Understanding the meaning based on the scriptures is the enemy of the Buddhas of all times. Deviating one word from the scriptures is the same as devil talk. Does someone who is not included in cause or effect still experience the results of action or not? The introduction is a pointer. It points the way. So, understanding the meaning based on the scriptures, the enemy of the Buddhas of all times. So don't try to understand what we're talking about now. Don't try to make meaning. And the next line flips. Deviating one word from the scriptures is the same as devil talk. Don't deviate one word from the scriptures. Koans are like this, seeming contradictions, conundrums, like our lives at times. What we have here are two sides of the same coin. Do not try to understand the meaning based on the scriptures. Do not deviate one word from the scriptures. And I am going to kind of try to move a little more quickly because I see that I have lots to go and we're getting on in time. So let me read the case. The Diamond Cutter scripture says, if someone is reviled by others, this person has done wicked acts in previous ages and should fall into evil ways. But because of the scorn and revilement of people in the present age, the wicked deeds of past ages are dissolved. So we are not separate from all that is. And the shortcomings of previous generations are a part of me, of us, passed on, from which we have acted and passed on to others. But this view, not being separate from all that is, took me many years of practice to get to. And I'm really talking about the healing that happens with Zen practice over time. The gradual lessening, falling away of the emotional charge from the wounds suffered in earlier ages. So when we do zazen, we study the self, we look at ourselves. We hold up a lamp in the darkness and we sit with what comes up. And we are instructed to hold ourselves gently with the pain of our own shortcomings and the agony of shame, etc., etc. And then at the end of a period of zazen, we get up and we do the next thing. And I can only speak for myself, but in my practice in the early days was so difficult. I sat with so much pain and sometimes it felt like unbearable. And yet, over time, what happened was it was almost like there's like this strengthening, right, of my own spine, the ability to hold what came up. And over time, sort of a lessening of, it's like the stories of childhood kind of faded. The suffering somehow became alleviated. I'm not saying completely, but things changed. And, it became sort of the understanding for me of how zazen and sitting with whatever comes up again and again and again, it helps us, and it helps us to become integrated, and it helps us to change. It's like we see into our own behavior, the habits don't serve us anymore, don't serve anymore. And then we have agency, the opportunity to change, and realizing my own shortcomings, imperfection, sort of allowed me to drop the critical voice that criticized myself, but also how I also criticized other people, because I realized that it's all just part of being human. We're human beings with, and human lives are difficult. All the change, the things that come up, the things that fall away, the illness, sickness, all the things that happen. And so let me move on here. I'm going to skip a little bit. So that is the dissolving, right? The dissolving, the lessening, the lightening of what we carry, our suffering. It lightens and it dissolves. And every difficulty that we've ever had in our own life is an opportunity, right? And it has brought us to me being here with you and you being here with me. And I think that understanding has just really helped me to just appreciate sort of my whole life and everything that's happened, and being here with you now. So I'm going to end with a verse from Roshi Enkyo's book, Most Intimate, The Zen Approach to Life's Challenges. It's in chapter 4, Living in the Suffering World, Lotus in the Fire. Open your heart, open your eyes, caring, acting, serving. Thus we live our lives, crossing over from suffering to compassion.